Hello and welcome to Why Medics Matter, a podcast for doctors, by doctors, brought to you by Doctors Training. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Amie Burbridge.
And I'm Dr. Simon Fruser. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Simon. So we're just going to do a short episode, I guess, of reflection. And in a previous episode, we met with a fantastic Dr. Jamie Reed. And we touched on professional identity and actually what it is, what it means. And, do you know, it's not something, this is going to sound crazy, in the 20 years I've been a doctor that I've ever really thought about. Because for me, it's so intrinsic. But I guess what professional identity is, it's how we see ourselves and how we perceive others see us, or how others see us. And I guess it would be good to think about maybe a time that really, really challenged my professional identity. And I guess really changed the course of my career, actually. And I did allude to it a little bit when I talked to Jamie. So I think if you're happy, we're just going to go ahead and have a chat.
If you don't mind, if you're comfortable sharing, Amy.
So I've been a doctor for about 10, 11 years when it happened, and I was a medical registrar, and I was working in a hospital a very long way away from home. So even before I got to work, I'd had an hour and a half sitting on the M6. Now, anybody who knows the M6, it's a challenging motorway. And this hospital was 60 to 70 miles away from home. So by the time I got to work, I was already quite stressed and anxious. And I walked onto the ward one day and it was busy, it was chaotic. And I did a ward round and I saw a patient. I'm not going to go into too many details of the actual situation, but I saw a patient and I basically copied what every other previous doctor had written down in the notes who'd seen her. And at the time, I didn't really know what cognitive bias was. It wasn't something I'd heard of or really learnt of. So I copied the plan and I did a very cursory examination. And when I was in there, I felt something wasn't right. My gut instinct was telling me something was wrong, but I don't know. I ignored it. I was tired. I'd been angry because I was stuck on the M6, or maybe I was hungry. And as I walked away from that consultation, I knew I'd done something, but I didn't know what it was. And 4 days later, I got an email to say, Amy, there's been an incident form put in against you because you missed a acute abdomen. And what had happened is it turned out that I'd seen this medical patient, but she had a very significant surgical abdomen, which resulted in an emergency operation and an intensive care stay. And I felt like somebody had hit me in the stomach and I felt sick. And you know what's really weird, Simon, when I'm telling you about this now, I feel the same. It really does conjure up the same sort of feelings and sensations. Because until then, those previous 10 years of being a doctor and the 5 years at medical school and that time at secondary school and primary school, I'd been told that I was really good and I was an achiever, and doctors can't make mistakes because when doctors make mistakes, people are really affected. So I didn't think I could make mistakes because I was great. I was perfect. I was a doctor who got really good feedback. I passed all my exams really well. And all of a sudden, I wasn't that doctor anymore. I was a doctor who made a big mistake and a patient nearly lost their life. And I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't work. So I'd gone from being an incredible high achiever of 10 years. And that was it. I couldn't work. I didn't go to work for 2 months.
Oh, gosh.
And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what this was. So I didn't know that what the error had done is, I guess, it challenged my professional identity because I was so closely interlinked with me. I'm a doctor. That's who I am. When people say who I am, I'm a doctor. You know, I'm not a person. I'm not an Amy. I'm not a mom. I am all those things. But I always, when people ask me, I always say a doctor first because I've worked hard. I love my job. That's my identity. It's who I am. And it had gone. And I thought, I can't go back to work. Because from being this higher achiever to being somebody who made such a big mistake, my career was over. And 2.5 months, still struggled, but realised I probably actually get to go back to work. And interestingly, at the time then, there wasn't the support like there is now. There wasn't practitioner health, and actually, we didn't talk about mistakes then. And we lived in an incredibly closed culture, because if I was open and honest about what I did, well, I was basically telling people that I was rubbish. Because the culture back then, and probably is still now to a certain extent, is we don't talk about our mistakes, we don't talk about our errors, we don't show our vulnerability, because people will see that we're flawed and we're weak. And I truly believed that. So I'm still on the journey. Isn't that, it's 10 years ago and I'm still on the journey. And you know what's interesting is the reason I'm on this podcast is because of that episode, because it really changed my career trajectory. And it prompted a lot of self-reflection. And only after talking about it to people and actually presenting this at a grand round at that particular hospital, did I really then open up about it and go, maybe this wasn't all me. Maybe this was a bit of burnout. Maybe this was a bit of exhaustion. Maybe this was actually, it's not just me to blame on this. There is with error, it's not just one person, but at the time I truly felt like it was. And even now I still question my professional identity and how people perceive me. That started from that case, which sounds crazy, but it really, and I can tell the story like it happened yesterday because it truly feels like that now.
Just speaking to you feels like it happened last week.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
The emotion, it takes you back to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when Jamie talked about professional identity, that prompted in me the whole thing that really triggered off a lot of the feelings around that episode was that I wasn't who I thought I was. I was really worried about how people perceived me after this. And it really affected the pride I had in myself and my own sense of self.
So I hope you don't mind, I'm just going to probe a tiny bit. Is that okay?
Please do.
Not about the case, but obviously you had a big gap, and you talked about the Grand Round being the first time you started to maybe look at it from a different lens. How long was that gap?
But I think after the episode, I was still in the same hospital, so it was about 4 to 5 months.
Took 4 to 5 months before you could start to be in a position to discuss it.
Yeah.
You mentioned people don't talk about incidents when they happen because it's that vulnerability. It throws us. We've not failed before. We say it's personal failure. Why do you think that is? Or why was that for you?
I think for me, it was because I'd invested everything of me into my career. Emotional investment, physical investments, financial investments. My whole being was a doctor.
And there's one thing being a doctor, and I think we don't just accept for being a doctor and being good enough.
I know.
We have extremely high expectations.
Yeah. Huge.
And I think many doctors carry this, particularly those young. And is anybody that particularly helped you in this situation? Think that was said, that was done, who supported you? If I'm speaking to somebody listening to this now who feels like they're in a similar situation, their identity's been challenged, they've got these emotions locked in, but they're staying deep below the surface. They might be at work, they might be present, they might not be present. What's your...
So, a couple of things helped me. I finished the rotation, went to a different rotation, which was a bit closer to home. And my new educational supervisor there had been told I was a trainee in difficulty. And that really hurt.
That strong label.
Oh, and it's a horrible label, isn't it? And at the time, I probably did need additional support, but that phrase wasn't used then. We were a difficult trainee in difficulty / difficult trainee. And
you difficult? Never.
I know. And she sat me down, and we had, she knew exactly what had been said about me. And she said, I'm going to ignore all of that because you're here now. And this is a fresh start. I don't know anything about you apart from this one email I've got. But actually, you go and be you. You be authentic. And, I worked with her on and off for 6 years. Phenomenal mentor to me. And what she said at the time and what she said when I left eventually as a consultant 6 years later was, be authentic. Be your true self. And I've been practicing as a doctor not authentically for 10 years.
Trying to be something.
I was tried to be something I could never be. And she said to me, be you, because actually that's pretty cool anyway, and be authentic. And that, even now when people say to me, if you got any words of advice, I'm like, just be yourself. If it takes you 20, 30 minutes to see a patient on a ward rad, that's okay. I am known now as the slow consultant. But you know what? I'm happy with that. I'm thorough. I like to rephrase it. Whereas before I was like, I need to go quickly. I'm an acute physician. We do everything quick, but actually we don't have to. So being authentic, she listened, she gave me the time, she allowed me to be myself. And it felt like I was starting a clean sheet and her door was always open.
It sounds like that was the start of really discussing the problem.
100%. Yeah. And she empowered me to talk about it. So much that I presented it at a Royal College of Physicians event in front of hundreds of people, which when I think about it now was crazy. But I got people coming to me after that saying, thank you for sharing that. I now feel like I can talk about what I did because we've all made mistakes. We make mistakes all the time. I still make mistakes at work today. I'm sure I made them, but I'm open and I talk about them with who's around me. And I think that's what that's taught me.
I think we've all got skeletons.
Absolutely.
In the closet, scars that have shaped
Oh,
us.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things we notice, which is really unhealthy behaviors, is when we do that, we go into ourselves. We might isolate ourselves. We continue the high expectations. We avoid talking about the issue because we don't want to go there, not getting help, and not resting and recovering. This concept of second person harm. I remember going to an inquest and it was a very sad inquest. And I was there as a registrar and a consultant was there. And a wise consultant said, I didn't expect of a consultant to be stressed. It was quite straightforward. And the other consultant said to him, nobody will ever be more critical of you than yourself.
Exactly. That's so
we
true.
Are worst on judges.
That's so true. And I think I still am now, but I think I have more of self-awareness that I'm human. Before I thought I was superhuman. Now I know I'm just human. And yes, I am still critical, but now I do it in a reflective way. So I reflect on the case and go, I could have done this differently. I could have done that. But I try to take a lot of the self-blame away and I talk about it and my mistakes with other people. So I think that's the most important thing, is to share when we do something wrong, because then other people share and then it makes it, we're all human at the end of the day.
It's okay. It's
okay.
Role model and vulnerability.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amie, thank you for sharing some, which is, a very deep and personal story. I just hope people out there who might resonate with this feel they can reach out to, we've got someone to reach out to.
Absolutely.
I think what the most important thing I want to take away is, as supervisors,
yes,
we are in a very privileged position and we have to hone our hearts to just listen with empathy. We can't fix it. I can't make any better. And we've deconstructed teams in NHS. So I'm a massive believer the role of an education supervisor. I'm a big fan of longitudinal relationships. I think when it works well, you've got somebody in your corner that you can always talk to, where you can talk about the truth, not what you think other people want to hear. Because how you're judged. So for anybody listening out there, have a chat, talk to people, don't bury it, and grow from it. Amie, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening, and thank you to everybody out there for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.